time for the 360 round. I want to take a close look at Apple off the company's earnings report, where we saw iPhone sales slipping, revenue falling again for a third straight quarter. But they've been making a lot of investments in growth as well. Andrew Graham is with us, CEO of Jackson Square Capital. Daniel Rubino is with us, editor-in-chief at Windows Central. I'll start with you, Daniel Rubino. What do you think? I mean, is there a slowdown happening, or is it more just somewhat of a turnaround happening where they're redirecting some of their efforts?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm actually really happy with their earnings here, considering the macroeconomic conditions and the somewhat slowdown of the consumer market. They actually prevailed pretty well here. And I think the big story was services were up 8%. Services are such a key component to their business. Not only does it bring in a lot of money per quarter, it's a recurring stream of revenue, unlike the iPhone and other things where people buy it once and then you hope they'll buy it again in another year, 2 years, or 3 years. And so the whole services thing, I think, is a very good deal for them. The iPhone being down slightly, not unexpected, and even Macs were down around 7%. But compared to the general PC market, which was down 20%, Apple fared again quite well here. Now they expect a turnaround starting next quarter, but going into early 2024. That's going to be reflective of the general PC market. They're also slated to, or at least rumored to be launching the new iPhone 15 coming in September, which will give them another boost. So overall, I think I'm pretty happy with these numbers considering the conditions we're in right now.
Understood. Andrew, what are your thoughts? I mean, I know you were noting the iPhone product cycle. What was your takeaway from the quarter?
Well, I really want to do a counterpoint with Dan, but I feel like I'm more in agreement than anything. So yeah, everybody's focused on the underwhelming revenue guide. But the services piece, obviously a bright spot, as some geographies like China and really most of emerging markets just performed exceptionally well. So yeah, it's a product cycle company, or at least that's the way everybody's focused on it, because they've trained us maybe every September we're going to get a new phone, and we're all going to talk about whether there's any value add to the new phone, blah blah blah, and parties or whatnot. This is an earnings compounding story. In addition to the transformation to services, there's just ongoing growth in the installed base, which is just over 2 billion units now. And I guess I would also highlight the company has a lot of optionality when it comes to capital deployment. And I don't know what form that takes, but I would just note that as another positive going forward.
The stock went up to $198 recently. It's pulled back. It's at $185 today after the earnings. Andrew, when do you get in and start to pick up some?
Pretty close. I mean, really the secret, or the little secret here amongst all portfolio managers, is that you got to own the top 10 names, let's say in the S&P 500. This one's the largest. So you got to make a decision whether you're going to overweight it or underweight it or equal weight it. And we're underweight coming into this. We have been for the last 3 quarters. We're going to use the softness to add and get to a small overweight. It's right now 7.5% of the S&P. So a small overweight might be 8%. And then really the price, it's 185, I believe right now. So 170 to 180 range would be perfect. And this is a good time to do it. Before the product launch. August is usually kind of sluggish and slow, and people are usually trimming risk. So yeah, that's the plan anyway. See how it goes.
Understood. Okay. Daniel Rubino, I mean, we know the PC cycle and things like that, iPads, Macs. I mean, they, the MacBooks and all that. We've seen a little bit of pullback, iPads in particular. But what about the turnaround into AI, and Tim Cook sort of giving us a little taste of that? And that's what I was alluding to when I was saying, their investments in the future. What do you think of what you did here?
Yeah, so this is the first time, if I recall, that Tim Cook has mentioned generative AI, which of course is the big buzzword. It's what powers ChatGPT and Microsoft's Bing Chat. And it's, Amazon's working on this, Facebook's working on this. But the question was, what's Apple been doing? Now, the rumor has always been, well, of course, they're working on AI in some form or another. But this is the first time Cook has basically confirmed, we've been working on this for years. Now, it's a very vague statement. We don't know what that means necessarily. They do already incorporate a lot of machine learning into their products, and they do it subtly. So they don't put big flashy names around this stuff, but the little consumer experiences are improved because of this technology. Now, are they going to improve Siri with generative AI. We don't know. They said they've been working on it. We'll have to wait and see what they mean by that, though. But I think it's probably a good sign that they're at least acknowledging it. We'll have to see if this translates onto any kind of consumer products, mainly enhancing Siri, which I think is desperately in need for an upgrade.
Yeah, what about the headset? Could that be an area of growth for them? I know they were just trying to get those developers in. Maybe you could start watching big games and sports and things on it. Daniel, quick.
Yeah, this is a big risk for them. I'm still a little about 50-50 on this. It is Apple. After all, the hardware is going to be fantastic. The software experience will be fantastic. And they do have a good developer base. So those are all in their favor. That said, the market so far for this kind of technology has been very soft and lukewarm. We've been promised for years this was going to be the year that AR, VR takes off, and it never happens. And right now, developers can go check it out in Cupertino to go see it themselves, work with engineers to start developing apps. But from what's been reported by Bloomberg, at least, that the response so far has been pretty soft. So maybe if they expand that more to the New York market, we'll see an increase. But I don't know if this is going to be the hit they want it to be, partly because of the price. Long term, maybe 5 years out, yeah, this could be a winning category. But I think for the first couple of years, this is going to be really dicey for them.
Yeah. And look, with the third consecutive quarter of, this is the most prolonged sales slump since 2016. So, Andrew, I'll leave it to you. I mean, is the guidance good enough? And what if revenue just fall again for another quarter? That would make it the fourth straight quarter in a row. Is that okay for you?
Yeah, I think it's okay. They guided to a similar type of revenue quarter they just had, which was down 1%. I don't think that's a big deal. I think the street was looking for plus 0.5% or something like that. So it's not like expectations are out of control. Most companies, if they're smart, they give fairly conservative guidance. I think you get into a problem when you own a stock and they miss badly for a quarter and they miss badly for a second quarter. That's usually when we say fundamental stories changed, and that's when we start looking to sell the stock. I don't think we're anywhere near that with Apple, and like I said, I would look to add it on this pullback. And when it comes to the AR, VR headsets and whatever, that's a small niche market, but it's probably a stepping stone to what eventually be a much bigger product that will be available on your iPhone. So anyway, I look forward to that, but that's probably not for a few.
Thank you both very much. Andrew Graham, Jackson Square Capital, Daniel Rubino, Windows Central. Thanks so much. A good look there at Apple.